Anyone who has looked into learning Chinese Mandarin has come across the fact that it's a tonal language. And for those of you who don't know what a tonal language is, it basically means that the same syllable sounds that you make, if you say them with a different tone, like a tone of voice, I guess you could say. In English, when we're mad, we might speak with a different tone of voice than when we're happy or surprised. Well, the same syllables using a different tone in Chinese make it be a completely different word. So the classic example that you always see people say is ma, 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 ma. And those are just illustration. Each one of those is a different word. So like the first one, ma, means mother. Ma means like numb, and so on and so forth. So basically every single tone combined with those syllables makes a different word, and if you mess them up, it is basically using the wrong pronunciation. So coming from anyone who I guess speaks a European language, English, or just any non-tonal language in general, this really is hard to wrap your head around. And when you're first getting started, there's the tendency to only look at the letters on the page and kind of ignore the tone, thinking that it's not as important. But what I've found is actually a lot of times the tone is the most important thing, or one of the more important things. Because if you say the word with a slightly incorrect pronunciation in terms of like the letters, in terms of that aspect of it, but you get the tone right, a lot of the time, people will understand what you're saying. But the opposite, if you say the letter part, I guess we'll just call that the pinin. If you say the letter part correctly, like the initial, the vowel, and the final, you say that right, but you get the tone wrong, you'll get a lot more confused looks and have people ask you for clarification. So getting the tones down is a lot more important than you would think. It really is how when they're listening to Chinese as a speaker of it, it's really how they differentiate different words. So you need to make sure you get them down. And today, I'll be going through those 4 tones and how I learned to pronounce them, because some teachers, some courses, they try their best to explain it, they really do, but for me it just didn't click until I had a tutor of mine really break it down and explain each tone in a lot more simpler context. So I'll go through those. So there's 4 tones. The first tone is pronounced like ah. It's like it's called first tone, and it's the highest pitch. Basically, the way to think of this is like if you're singing, it's the highest pitch possible. But an issue I used to do is I would hear the highest pitch possible and I would like overdo it. I'd be like, ah, like super high pitched. But you want to find it within your normal speaking register. So right now when I'm speaking English, it's kind of in a range. All my words are within a certain range. There's some things I say that are higher pitched, some things are lower pitched, but it's generally all in this range. And when my speech hits the peak part of it, so like the highest pitch part, that's basically how high pitched you want to get. So you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to go higher than your normal vocal register. You just want to speak at your normal vocal register, the highest possible. And it's a consistent, smooth ah. So just like that. High pitched, but not crazy high pitched. That's the first tone. So the second tone then is kind of like a raising up tone. But this one, I would always get confused with the next one. And the way I learned to say this one is, imagine someone says something to you and you're kind of surprised, like, like you're kind of shocked about something, you're surprised. That's how I started to think of the second tone, and that really helped me a lot. Like someone says something shocks you, like it kind of gets higher pitched. That's essentially the sound of the second tone. So when we're putting that on top of the pinging, it would sound something like ma, ma. Like the second tone is the rising tone, kind of like you're shocked. So now so far we have first and second, ma, 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 ma. The third tone, now this one is probably the trickiest for a lot of people, And that's because the way you normally hear it explained is it goes down and comes back up. It's, if you see the symbol for it, it's like down then up. And that's not the best way to think about it. I think third tone is really just going down, and then it only comes up when you say the next character. So to illustrate this point, if you're trying to say the word for like I, which is 我, it doesn't really come up as much when you pair it with a different character. So if I say I like something, 我喜欢, it's like 我. It like just goes down and then says And really, the sound you want to make, it's kind of like a little creaky in your throat. It's like a frog is in your throat, maybe you could say. It just goes from a normal So basically just go from saying something normal and then down into like a kind of gargly throat sound. So just don't even, let's not even put any pinging characters on it. Just everyone go kind of like that. So then if we add it with the character that we're gonna say ma, but it comes back up when you're connecting it to the next word. So basically third character just goes straight down. So far we have first tone, straight high pitched, second tone, like you're surprised, third tone just goes down and then stays down until you say the next character. And then fourth tone is quite easy because it's essentially like you're looking at a baby taking candy from the candy jar and you want to give them a firm no. You're going to look at them and you're going to say, no, no. That's fourth tone. It's just straight down. It's kind of like you're giving a decisive, firm command. No. So now when we project that onto the character, it'll be ma, ma. So far, or I guess that's all of them. Then there's the neutral tone, which you don't really add any extra force to. It's just really flat. So that would be like ma, ma, ma. You don't really add anything to it. So overall, it's ma, 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 ma. That's the 4 tones we learned, plus the neutral tone. So just practice those, and I think using what I just laid out there, using some of those tricks to remember, especially the second and third tone. The second tone is like you're surprised, ma. Third tone is just down and then comes up again later, ma. So yeah, I hope that helps people, because for me it was a big difficulty to learn those. And if someone told me this a lot earlier, I think I would have had tones down much earlier in the process. And don't neglect tones. They're probably more important than learning the actual pinging spelling for most words.